News next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
We had such a great week at the RNC. President Trump, and then announcing his VP pick, J.D. Vance. No, don't put him on.
I'm just going to put him right there.
And it was all unity. Everybody was on the same page. Things were great. And then something strange happened. Matt Gaetz, who, by the way, has clearly over Botoxed. Leave Botox for women. Botox. Men, please. Don't touch our stuff. Okay. He got in the face. Clearly, there's still bad blood between him and ex-House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. And this is what happened.
What night are you speaking? Are you speaking tonight? Or one person? No. Hey, you're not. If you took that stage, you would get booed off. You would get booed off the stage.
And guess who is staring him down?
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
TMZ even reported on this. Yeah. They described the person as a senior citizen.
I know him. He is a senior citizen.
No, I don't know. That's Richard Porter. He's an Illinois National Republican Committeeman, and he joins us now on our Turnkey.pro answer line. Good morning, Richard. How are you?
Hey, guys. Good morning. You know you had a great convention when your opponent drops out 3 days later, don't you think?
That's true.
Oh, I know. This is great, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, let's talk about this incident. You just happened to be there at the right time?
Yeah, no, just one of those happenstance things. I just was staying there watching the gaggle around Kevin, and Gaetz kind of swam his way through the crowd to butt his head into the picture. It was really kind of startling. He pushed people aside and thrust himself into the picture to mock Kevin and taunt him. It was really a bully move, both of the people standing by and to Kevin, of course. The people then sort of pushed him back a little bit, and when he got within kind of a quiet voice range, I told him what I thought.
And you called him a blank hole. And what else did you say to him, Richard?
Well, I just said, shut up. And you don't have to be a blank hole. And I repeated that twice. And look, I think it's a good rule to live by, right? You really don't have to be. You could just compete without going that far all the time.
But it worked because Matt allegedly or ultimately shimmies away from the situation and left. Right.
Well, it was funny because he looked at me and he didn't know who I was, and he says, I don't even know who you are. And I said, it doesn't blank matter who I am. Don't be a blank.
That's the audio I sent you.
Yeah.
So what did you think when they called you a senior citizen at TMZ?
Well, of course, that's what the funny thing is. I mean, a series of put-downs, right? The biggest put-down was the last one. TMZ reserved for me, the senior citizen. Although they also said nice things, too. It was like a do-gooder, an older do-gooder who stood his ground. Like a movie. It's out of a movie. I thought that was good. But I don't know, senior citizen? That stung. But, I had just written a piece about how elites are out of touch with reality, and that's part of what's driving politics in America today, is they're just not responding to things that people actually care about. And but having just encouraged people to face reality, I had to look in the mirror and say, yeah, I guess I am a senior citizen. I just never really thought of it that way.
Yeah. I know. We'll never call you that here.
Yeah, Richard, you've been to your share of RNC conventions. How would you rate this one up there as it relates to showmanship, pageantry, and just unification of the party?
Well, I would say 10 on all counts, honestly. It was a crisply run, very disciplined convention. We got all the business done of the convention, which is ordinarily, in conventions past, been done in prime time. We got all done in the morning on Monday and into the afternoon. And that then left the evening time slots for speeches that would present our view of where America needs to go, the challenges that we face today and how we're going to address them. So it really turned the convention into a full-throated, 4-day primetime advertisement for our beliefs and our candidate. And I think in that regard, it was really a success.
All right, so Kamala Harris, obviously, you know what's been happening. You know, Biden announced yesterday, not on official presidential letterhead, but on his own, that he's not going to be seeking re-election. He's going to stay in office. Kamala Harris, how is she? How does she secure those delegates, and what's next?
Well, they're not bound to anybody at this point. Once Joe Biden releases those delegates, they are free to vote for whoever they want to. Each party can define its own rules, and as a general matter, the parties try to bind the delegates to whoever they were supporting in the primaries that they won. So, of course, Kamala didn't run in any primary, so all the delegates at the convention were bound to Joe Biden. He has just released them, which means they're free agents. Now, these are all party regulars. You typically get party regulars to be delegates. So they will look to the best interests of the party in their actions, but they'll have disagreements about what their best interests are. I just think it's inevitable. Democrats tend to have a lot of party discipline. They're not as, free thinking isn't quite as welcome in the Democratic Party as in the Republican Party. And so I think, you're already seeing 50 state chairmen line up behind Kamala, and even Gavin Newsom, who was seen as one of her potential competitors, has endorsed her. I step back and I say to myself, gee, I actually think that what this means is that the senior Democrats all look at this as a lost opportunity. I don't think any of them really believe, if they really believe they had a shot to win the presidency, they'd be scrambling like heck to get themselves out there and to try to get that nomination. That they're stepping aside and letting Kamala take it, I think they think she's going to take a hit to the head, and it's going to, they're going to lose. Donald Trump has managed to seize the middle with this tremendous convention, and in the wake of the almost horrific moment when the failed assassination attempt, and his rhetoric has been kind of right at the high ground. So I think at this moment, Donald Trump's on the top of the hill. Kamala Harris is at the bottom of the hill, and it's raining, and it's a muddy ground. She's gonna have a hard time getting to the top.
I wish I felt that way, but she raised $50 million and counting in less than 24 hours once that Biden announced that he was dropping out.
Right, but there's been pent-up giving demand because they haven't been giving for a month. So point one, people have been withholding their contributions for a month. And the second thing is, remember, these are a lot of these are smaller donors. Some of them are very large donors, too, that are desperate to have someone other than Joe Biden at the top of the ticket. Mm-hmm. I think they're in loss and minimization mode now. They were really worried that with Joe Biden at top, not only would we win the House and the Senate, but we would win with margins that would drive really significant majorities in both houses. So I think where the Democrat establishment is today is, look, we can't lose that big. We got to do everything we can to make this thing close. But if they actually thought they could win, then why wouldn't Gavin Newsom jump in? Where's J.B. Pritzker? All these ambitious, Gretchen and Whitmer. They don't see the opportunity. If they did, none of these folks are shy, right?
Well, are they just scared, though, to step on the toes of Kamala Harris?
Well, why be scared? I mean, what clout does she have? The delegates aren't pledged to her, right? Maybe the media establishment would kind of rail at anyone who dared, step up in front of whoever the Democratic bosses have chosen next. But, since when have Democrats been shy about pursuing opportunities like this? I mean, they had, 15 candidates in 20, even though Biden was seen as the establishment candidate. It wasn't until they went a few laps that they stepped back and let Joe Biden have it.
Richard, you're in the Trump's campaign room. You're in the war room with Donald Trump. And the candidate is Kamala Harris and Kelly out of the SVP, Mark Kelly. What's your advice to the Trump campaign on how you run a campaign against those two?
Well, one, they're not going to run away from the unpopular policies of the Biden-Harris administration. So you just continue to hang the idiotic policies that they pursued, like electric car mandates and all that sort of jazz, on them. So from a policy point of view, you make clear to America that a Harris administration is 4 more years of bad stuff. So that's point one. And point two, I don't think people really believe Kamala Harris has what it takes. At the end of the day, the person that's in the second spot can hurt you and maybe help you a little bit, but they won't carry you across the finish line. The American people have to believe that the president has the stamina and the willpower and the grit to stand in front of Putin, Xi, and these other, foreign leaders that threaten our interests around the world. I don't know that anyone really looks at Kamala Harris or listens to her and says, yeah, that's a solid citizen who's going to be able to look them in the eye and convince them not to take advantage of our weakness. And I think she projects weakness. This is the problem with the Democratic Party at this point. They've emptied out our warehouses our storehouses of munitions, sending them over to Ukraine, while China is probing Taiwan for a potential assault. And, guess where all of our chips are made? They're all made in Taiwan. So, we are in a really dire spot. The world is on the edge of a potential World War III. Putin is rattling the nuclear threat, and we're going to go to Kamala Harris over Donald J. Trump to help us through this challenging moment. I just don't think people are going to buy that. And I think in the wake of that terrible assassination attempt, the American people see the president in a different light. It was the hand of Providence that preserved him, and it's changed him as well. I mean, he's a guy that's, he is reaching out to try to unify all America. He's moved to the middle. I mean, and if you listen to his speech on Saturday, he said this. He said, the other side's going around trying to make me sound extreme, like I'm an extremist. I'm not. I'm a person with great common sense. I'm not an extremist at all. Like some on the right, severe right came up with this Project 25. They're very, very conservative. Just like you have, they're sort of the opposite of the radical left, okay? You have the radical left and the radical right. I don't know anything about Project 25. I don't know anything about it. So the bottom line is Trump 2.0 is a common sense populist with resilience and strength under fire. And it's already made him a metaphor for the American spirit. I think this is a position and a candidate that's very hard for the Democrats to assault.
Well, how much do you think Biden was paid to drop out of the race? I mean, do you think that he was like some donor said, look, I'll give you $2 million if you and Jill just go away?
I don't know, but I could look. I mean, what's insane, and it's always been staring us right in the face, is here's a guy that's been in public office since the early 1970s. He's a very young man. He's the son of a car salesman, so he has no family money. Yet somehow he lives the life of a multimillionaire, even after putting his kids through college. So it makes no sense to me. I mean, when you know what it takes to live and to accumulate wealth and to be able to afford the things he has, you sort of scratch your head and say, there is no way on God's green earth this guy, accumulated that wealth, on that salary. It just didn't happen with a big family and putting kids through. So, look, there's been money being funneled to him throughout his career. It's just reality, more as time went by. They had the whole Biden Inc. where the brothers and his son were sort of in the business of selling access to him, and then somehow his lawn was getting cut or other services were paid for, or whatever it was they needed, that they would pick up the tab, and that's how they would shift wealth to him. So look, I mean, I suppose it's possible someone paid him, but look, he's a proud man too, and this was his moment. Here's a funny thing: I actually met Joe Biden. I drove him to and from the airport back in 1980.
Whoa.
So 44 years ago. And let me tell you something. This is like one of the first politicians I met. I was excited to meet a U.S. senator, and I volunteered to be the driver, to drive this guy back and forth. He came to my college to give a speech back in 1980. The guy was a royal blank hole. He really was. I mean, the guy was rude. I was trying to ask questions, and I guess he thought there were stupid questions. But I walked away thinking, oh, man, that guy's a jerk. And nothing he's done in his career since then has ever convinced me he was anything other than a jerk. I mean, I think that's so funny. These people all treating him like a statesman. This is a guy that plagiarized not only the words, but the entire life story of Neil Kinnock back in 1988. That's what caused him to drop out of the race. This is the guy that led the high-tech lynching of Clarence Thomas in 1991-92.
Yep.
I mean, so this is a bad dude. And the idea that somehow he was able to resurrect his career thanks to Obama, and by hiding in the basement become president of the United States, this is ridiculous.
Was he in office when they borked Bork? Was he there too?
Yeah, sure, he was there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's been there since like 1974 or something like that, 72.
Yeah,
Been there
I got a
forever.
question. Do you think Trump should debate Kamala? I know she probably wants the debates now.
I don't
I
think
think
that
she
they
needs
should.
the debates.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, that's okay.
You know, this is so fun.
That's okay.
What were you saying, Amy? What'd you say?
I don't think he should debate him. There's nothing in it for him.
I do.
What do you want, Richard?
Tell me, John. Tell me why. Tell me what your thoughts are.
I think it shows the American people Trump debating her. I don't think she can out debate Trump. Trump's one of the best debaters I've seen.
Yeah, so here's what I think happens. I think if he debates her, she's going to play the "don't be a bully to me" sexist card, right?
Correct.
Yep.
That's always the
He's
card they play.
misogynistic.
And then I
He's
think
racist. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, all that garbage. And then what will happen? I think Trump, because he doesn't take that nonsense. He'll say, "Wait a minute, you think Putin's going to be like nice to you because you're a woman? What are you talking about? This is ridiculous." And by the way, Trump is hard on anyone who's hard on him. So the idea that somehow, he's got to be soft and gentle, it's the same stupidity as the idea that, that bad things aren't going to have to happen after 8 o'clock while Joe Biden is president because he has to go to bed early. So, I mean, look, you can't expect the world to conform to the needs of the president. You need a president that has the resilience, the flexibility, and the strength to adapt to the circumstances the world presents. And does Kamala have that? Does anyone believe that? I don't think so.
I think the debates will expose that about who she is. I do.
Yeah, I think so too.
When you look at policy-wise, she's just not there. She doesn't have the gravitas to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, she doesn't have, right. I think that's a good word, John. I think she doesn't convey gravitas.
Right.
Ukraine is a small country. It's next to a big country called Russia. I mean, you look at the stuff online; it's brutal. I mean, it's brutal.
And she wants convicted felons to be able to vote.
Right. Well, this is a woman. I mean, the funny thing is, she's on both sides of the law and order issue. She kept people in prison back in California when she was Attorney General after a Supreme Court order that they should be released because she said they needed them for firefighting. So basically had them be indenture servitude. I mean, it's really crazy. And, her career, I mean, it's really the seamiest sort of thing, how her career got launched. You know the story, of course, was Willie Brown, is that his name? Was former,
yes.
The
Speaker of the House.
When she dated Montel.
Speaker of the House and Montel. I know. It's just so Kamala. Good. I saw that online. It's like Kamala, Kamala.
Not to be confused with Montel Jordan. This is how we do it.
Okay, so how does this party of democracy think that they can overrule the votes of over 14 million Americans, and they meaning probably Pelosi and Obama, decide who the next presidential nominee is going to be?
Well, look, you put your finger on it. I don't know how they attack Donald Trump as being a threat to democracy when they pull this kind of escapade out. It's like the classic back room, except there's no more smoke. It's just vaping, I guess, in the back room. But the idea that they can switch presidential candidates really literally on the eve of the convention and ram it through is kind of amazing that they think they can do that without everybody kind of blinking about that. So I think that line of attack goes away. I think it already went away, frankly, last Saturday in that horrible moment in Pennsylvania. So,
hey, Rich,
look,
do you think Biden now pardons Hunter?
Well, not until November. I mean, whatever towards his last day is. I mean, there's no reason to do it now.
I agree.
I
think he's going to do it.
On the way to prison. Oh yeah, of course.
They said that he's going to speak at the convention.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that, and I don't want to see Jill up there.
Well,
that's the past.
He'd still be the president.
I wouldn't speak if I were him. I would not speak.
But Jill's on her way to the Olympics, so all's good in the world. All right, Richard Porter, we're going to have to leave it there for today. Illinois National Republican Committeeman and an all-around good guy.
No
Thanks,
more, actually.
Richard.
Thanks. Cubs game soon.
As of Friday, my term is over, guys, so I'm now a private citizen. There you go.
Cubs game soon.
Cubs game soon. Take care, guys. Thanks.
All right, and thanks for your service. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When you're in chronic pain, you're miserable to be around, and so are the people who have to watch you suffer. So stop it. Do something about it. Now's the time to be proactive and take care of yourself. And there's another solution other than surgery or drugs. Call QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics, they have a cutting-edge treatment that revitalizes your joints with your body's own healing process. So if you have arthritis or if you're in pain in your knees, hips, shoulder, back due to an injury, you need to call QC Kinetics today.